Silva. Anthony.
Mr. Silva. Hey, man. To the fire department.
8 months ago, I told you about Anthony Silva, who was arrested, handcuffed, and then slammed headfirst into the ground, resulting in him being paralyzed, spending a year dying in a hospital bed.
You just got more trouble for yourself.
Yep, now you're on a felony.
He's not going to want to move. Move this leg. Move.
I talked to his attorneys, and you're not going to believe this. We now know the officers' names and the fact that their employer did not even bother to even do an investigation, even though a man was paralyzed and died.
From what we can tell in the depositions and the paperwork they've turned over during discovery, there's been no investigation whatsoever.
So it always gets back to they're more concerned with money and covering their backside than doing the right thing.
And the crazy thing is that it was all caught on body cam footage, and there's no reason why they still could not today perform that investigation. But they'd rather defend their police officers and avoid having to pay any money rather than see that justice is done. Let's go through it, and I'll tell you how you can help.
And even though that they acknowledged that he said he was paralyzed, and they acknowledged that they never saw his legs move after the takedown, they decided to put out a call for a code 2, and the ambulance didn't think it was a priority and didn't come for more than 30 minutes. So they have no excuse for that.
On the afternoon of October 8th, 2022, Anthony Silva's life was irrevocably altered when Stanislaus County deputies unleashed a brutal assault, leaving him quadriplegic and eventually causing his death on September 10th, 2023. Mr. Silva was outside the Riverbank Community Center in Riverbank, California, near a gazebo that is a public facility. Mr. Silva was 39 years old. He was a high school graduate, and for several years before this incident, he had sort of been off and on homeless. Stanislaus County deputies Kamara and Jiang approached Mr. Silva and immediately executed a forceful takedown and arrest, though Mr. Silva offered no resistance, though he was not suspected of any serious crime, and though he was not a threat to anyone.
Go away!
Relax.
All right, bro. Come on, pal. I got the ball. I got the
Anthony,
football.
just relax, dude.
What are you
All right?
doing, dog? No, come
Give me
on,
your
why are
hands.
you just
Give me
kicking me
your
like that? Zach!
Give me your hands.
Zach, dude!
I know, just give us your hands.
Hey,
Just relax.
Why are you resisting
Hey,
the ball?
just give us your hands.
I can't even look at nobody?
Deputies Kamara and Jiang detained Mr. Silva without any reasonable suspicion that he had committed any crime.
Why'd you do that to my hand? My bone hard. Why?
Stay down.
Please, why? I need to know.
Cuz I told you to put your hands right now.
Because I need to know, sir.
I told you why.
Hey, I'm going to ask you 3 times.
He's going
Yeah,
for
no,
it.
You're under arrest.
Why'd you push me? I was running
You're
from
under
you. Hit me
arrest.
hand. He took off running.
You're
I
under
don't know where
arrest.
Padilla went.
I
We don't know
had
where-
to be ran.
Oh, here.
You need ambulance or what, bud?
You're under arrest.
The outside. Okay, no.
Can you put it
Oh,
out?
see?
Can you be all for him?
Oh. Ah, bro, I gotta rescue. Yeah?
Hey, where did Adam go?
Deputies Kamara and Jiang led Mr. Silva to a nearby gazebo, and Deputy Bavaro from the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department met them there.
Sit down.
Hey, I thought I'd become water, brother.
Sit down.
What's up?
Please.
Unlace my
Stand
heart.
up, stand up, stand up.
I will let my pockets. You don't have to get out of me.
Stand up. I want you up, though.
I need to go to the restroom in the pit.
Okay.
During their conversation with Mr. Silva, Deputy Kamara became angry and forcefully slammed Mr. Silva headfirst into the ground with help from Deputies Jiang and Bavaro.
Where do you want this dropped off at?
Oh, that's my belongings. My
Well, it's
plastic
not,
bag over there,
it
right?
can't go with you.
Why,
You're going to jail, dude.
For what, bud?
You're drunk and public.
My cash.
Where's your
I
cash
have to go
at?
get something to drink. My water is not free.
Where's your cash at?
Come on, bro.
Okay, Chuck, stand up.
Honestly, I don't have. I don't have to go to jail. You're not
Stand up.
bailing me out now.
Stand up. Let's go.
Yeah, man, I'm asking.
You're under arrest.
My cash. Where's my cash?
We'll take it.
Give my f***ing hand back.
Hey.
Give my f***ing hand. Give my helmet. Out of my helmet. Call it God.
Stop.
Ow. Ow.
You got a rap?
Yeah.
Ow.
2Y6. Star 1141. Code 2.
Let me up. Ow. Ow. Ow.
Relax.
The forceful takedown of Mr. Silva resulted in cervical fractures of his C6 and C7 vertebrae. In layman's terms, Mr. Silva's neck was broken. Due to his broken neck, Mr. Silva could not get back to his feet. Mr. Silva immediately told the deputies, "I'm paralyzed."
You just got more trouble for yourself.
Yeah, now you're on a felony. You're not bleeding, Anthony. You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 1141. You're fine, buddy.
I can't
What's
talk.
You can talk. You're talking to me right now, Anthony.
I can't move my ass.
Control 2K6. It's going to be Stanislaus in 6.
You're not paralyzed.
I am.
You're not. You can move your arms. I'm seeing your arms moving.
Relax.
Relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fine, Anthony. Anthony, you're fine, buddy.
The deputies did not promptly call paramedics. Instead, as Mr. Silva lay on the ground, deputies Kamara and Jiang began to move his injured body. Without giving his neck any support, they carried his limp body to a nearby picnic table and sat him upright.
We got ambulance coming, okay? If we stand you up, are you going to walk?
Hey, you want to sit in shade, Anthony? I will have it sit on.
Okay, hey, buddy, we're going to roll you over towards me and we're going to sit you up, okay? I'm going to lift you up a little bit so we can move you, okay? Okay? Cool?
Sit up.
Let's get up.
Dad.
Ready?
Stand up.
Stand up.
Ow. I can't.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, ready?
It's got me.
You got me?
It's got me.
What got you?
Let me go, please.
I'm not going to let you go.
Wait, we're not going to start this again, dude.
Please.
Relax, dude.
Please, brother.
Relax.
Please.
No, you're going to jail, so relax.
Oh,
You're fine, buddy.
what's the matter?
Do not hit me again with your
What's
head, okay? You
on
already
my
got one.
head?
You got one felony charge already.
What's my head?
You're moving. You're fine, dude.
Oh,
You good?
I'm on my
Me?
toes. Dad.
You headbutt you?
Yeah.
No, well, he like shoulder checked me,
Yeah.
so.
I should have. I'm on, so I should have caught that. Yours would have caught the whole thing, probably.
Moving Mr. Silva multiple times exacerbated his neck injury, resulting in permanent quadriplegia. Then Mr. Silva was transported to the hospital, where he spent a miserable last year of his life confined to a hospital bed. He would never leave the hospital bed, completely paralyzed, with a feeding tube down his throat, really unable to even talk. Finally, his body succumbed to the injury that he had that day. While he was still alive, though, he was able to connect with one of the best civil rights lawyers in the nation, and one of the best civil rights lawyers, of course, in California, a guy named Dale Gallipo. Dale filed the lawsuit, and I was fortunate enough to be able to interview Dale and also his associate Cooper, who's working on the case, about what has happened since the last video. They've taken all the depositions, so we know what the officers have to say for themselves. Really, the most egregious thing here is the fact that this man died. Really, it's undisputed. Not only was there no accountability, no discipline for the deputies who were involved, but you're not going to believe this, there was not even any internal investigation whatsoever.
So I've been a lawyer for about 35 years. I started out doing personal injury law and criminal defense. About 22 years ago, I decided I was going to specialize in civil rights cases. So I've handled probably several thousand, I think something like over 300 or 400 shooting cases. I mean, that's how crazy the numbers are. I've gone to trial at least over 100 times in federal court against the police.
What was the reason for the officers confronting Mr. Silva that day in the first place?
I believe they got a call about somebody who was in the park causing disturbance, or they thought he was chasing someone or maybe trying to fight someone. But it turned out that he had never fought anybody. And I think there's a short video that shows that portion. So really the whole thing was exaggerated. Plus they wanted him to leave the park, and he's walking out of the park, contrary to their deposition testimony, where they claim he was stopped and in some type of a fighting stance. He's walking out of the park as the officers approach him, tell him to stop. He eventually stops and turns towards them. And, then it all starts.
Did any of the individual officers during their depositions take any responsibility for it at all?
No, I don't think so. I think they're going to go with this is just an unfortunate accident, and he was resisting, and we had no choice but to take him down to try to avoid further injury to ourselves and even him. That to me is quite ironic that they are going to say they took him down to avoid injury to him, and they slammed him head into the ground, breaking his neck and paralyzing him.
Tell me, how would you frame your opening argument in this case involving Mr. Silva?
One of the main things that has to be established, the seriousness of a takedown gone bad, okay? Because some jurors they understand shooting someone in the back is bad, right? Hitting someone over the head with a baton 5 times, that's more visual. Tasing someone 8 times. But taking someone to the ground, if I'm the defense in this case, this is a very unfortunate accident, is how I believe the defense will try to frame this.
You're going to head that off at the pass before they even get to it.
Yeah, I'm going to head it off at the pass. I'm going to say, and I think some of our questioning, and Cooper's to my right here, you can see Mr. Cooper right there. I believe that in the deposition, and we can send you the transcripts, I asked the officer, and Cooper's taken some and I've taken some, were you trained that a takedown is a reportable use of force? Yes. Start with the basics. Were you trained that if someone is taken down, they could be seriously injured, especially if they're handcuffed? Were you trained that one of the things you got to be careful of, if someone's taken down after they're handcuffed, they can't brace their fall and they can impact their head? Were you trained that an impact to the head against a hard surface could cause serious injury, even death or paralysis? Because what do we know happened? They took him down handcuffed and he hit his head. And they knew by their training that could happen. These officers even went so far, I believe, as saying in the depositions, we were trying to avoid him hitting his head. Didn't they? Did you have any evidence he had a weapon? Did you have any evidence of any specific injury to anyone? Had you called the ambulance? Did he punch you? Did he try to punch you? Did he kick you? Did he try to kick you? Did he try to tackle you to the ground? Did you realize that he might be a little bit off? Maybe some mental health crisis going on? Did you think he was homeless? So now you got all these facts that they were aware of beforehand. Were this guy really? And now he's handcuffed? And he's in your custody and control? And you knew by bringing him to the ground, especially that you were on a hard surface? I would try to let the jury know this is not a serious crime they were responding to, that he was initially cooperative and even handcuffed, that he was showing clear signs of a mental health crisis and or someone under the influence and or both.
I think the really egregious part of what happened in that situation was not even just the initial injury that occurred, but the way that they treated him afterwards. And
right.
they sort of mocked him.
Yeah, and moved him. And Cooper was really all over that too. He just felt the longer that video goes afterwards, the worse these cops look. They don't even look remorseful. They're almost like, and him crying out. It's very, when you have videos like that, I got to tell you, if I'm on the defense side, I don't want to try that case in front of a jury, certainly not against someone like me, because it could really go south.
Help me.
We got the ambulance coming, Andy.
Not a
Black.
tube. Come on. Ow.
What do you need help with?
Sit up. You are up. You're relax.
Up.
Anthony, where's the pain? Huh? Anthony, look at me real quick. Look at me real quick. Okay. Look at me. I want you to look at the tip of my pen, okay? You literally just had your eyes open.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You want me to help you out before you have to do it? Then if you can do it, you can do it. Sit up. You can. You're moving your neck.
Huh?
You need our assistance? What can I assist you with, Anthony?
Can you tell me a little bit about Anthony Silva's like mental health issues?
Yeah, Anthony had been dealing with some pretty serious mental health issues since he was a young adult. He was diagnosed bipolar, and so he was trying to manage that with medication. And the deputies involved in this incident even acknowledged that they knew he was dealing with these mental issues and had seen him previously and knew that that was something he was dealing with. But the way they treated him, it did not seem like they took that into consideration.
It almost seemed like they treated him like he was on drugs or intoxicated rather than suffering from mental illness.
Be honest.
Just so we know for ambulance, guys.
Just be honest, man. When's the last time you used?
Ambulance guys are gonna happen too. We just want to
Huh?
have the answers for them.
What? When?
Help me.
When did you use? This morning? A couple hours ago? 5 minutes ago? Huh? But when did you use?
Not ambulance coming.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, you know, sometimes officers use that as an out. I didn't think he was mentally ill because they know that's a sensitive issue. We just thought he was under the influence. But the reality is there's often a crossover between people who are homeless or semi-homeless and mentally ill and people who are sometimes doing drugs to self-medicate for a mental illness. So I think an argument could be made whether you think someone has a mental health crisis or is under the influence or you're not sure, you should really proceed with caution and try to de-escalate a situation rather than escalating it.
Did you guys already depose all of the officers involved in this case?
Pretty much. Yeah, I would say yes, with an exception maybe of a sergeant who came after the fact.
Did they provide any explanation for their behavior after the fact?
I'll let Cooper address that one. What would you say, Coop?
Absolutely not. No, the only way that they tried to escape responsibility for this was by saying that it was an accident, that they didn't mean to break his neck. But they didn't really have an excuse for why they had to use that kind of force given the circumstances.
Did they provide any excuse for why they didn't get a medical treatment or why they just sort of stood around and mocked them, etc.?
They blamed it on the ambulance not showing up because they were busy doing something else. But one of the interesting things that came up in the deposition is that they put out a call code 2. And in the depositions, it came out that if something is very serious, you put out a call code 3. And that means the ambulance comes out and gives your call priority. And even though that they acknowledged that he said he was paralyzed, and they acknowledged that they never saw his legs move after the takedown, they decided to put out a call for a code 2, and the ambulance didn't think it was a priority and didn't come for more than 30 minutes. So they have no excuse for that.
Come on, man. You were very talkative earlier. Huh? Huh?
How long does it take for an ambulance in Riverbank?
They don't have an ambulance available. That's what I was. We got fire.
But we're trying to figure out where.
Sit up.
Sit on your stomach.
Is it more comfortable to sit up? Sit up.
I could help you like that.
You can help us.
Move your leg. Move this leg. Move. Huh? Yeah. You move. Just relax, dude.
Fine, okay, buddy? We got that close.
No, yeah, I'm red.
Meet real quick. Anthony, do you have any pain on your shoulder? When was the last time you used, man? When was the last time you used? Your was like restricted, bro.
Can you go with Silva? Anthony,
You want to
you
go bicycle
you
Bill's
won't go
house?
to jail. Sit up.
You want to go to jail? Sit up. Hey, you want to go to Bill's house?
Go at the last when we're done.
Yeah.
Hey, we got help here, Anthony.
Mr. Silva. Hey, man. The fire department.
Didn't he die like a year after this occurred?
Yes, he died a little bit less than a year after this occurred. It happened on October 8th, 2022, and he died on September 10th, 2023.
What was Mr. Silva's life like from the date of this injury till the date that he died?
Oh, it was absolutely horrible. So from the date this happened, he never left a hospital bed. He was intubated for most of it. He couldn't breathe with the power of his own lungs. So they had him on a machine for that entire year. And he didn't leave his bed once. He was paralyzed immediately. And essentially, the pictures of him in the hospital over the year, you see a man wither away. He loses weight month after month until he's a husk of a person, and eventually his body can't keep going, and he dies.
Was he in a coma, or was he able to communicate during that time?
He was able to communicate very basically. He couldn't talk full sentences because he was fully intubated, but he could acknowledge what people were saying to him and say yes or no or nod his head. So he was there, but he wasn't able to actively communicate with people. We got involved pretty soon after it happened. Originally, we were representing Anthony himself, and we actually filed the complaint while he was still alive in the hospital. Shortly after we filed the complaint, unfortunately, he passed away, and we immediately had to substitute in his mother as the plaintiff in the case. But we were involved in the case, I think, about 6 or 7 months after it happened is when we joined.
They still never did any sort of investigation on what happened, even though they had all this body cam footage?
There's been, from what we can tell in the depositions and the paperwork they've turned over during discovery, there's been no investigation whatsoever.
Are the officers involved, are they all with this same agency?
Yes, they're all with the Stanislaus Sheriff's Department.
And I take it none of them have been disciplined in any way?
No.
The funny thing is the defense counsel is a real piece of work, and he told, because I've had other trials with cases with him and big verdicts or settlements, he told Cooper words to the effect, why is Dale even involved in this case? This is such a nothing case, you know? And here a guy, and we see this as a serious 7-figure case. So I think he's finally getting it, but Cooper took the last few depots and he's extremely rude to Cooper, this guy.
Did they take any responsibility here, even from the date that this happened, for what occurred?
Zero.
It's even worse than that, in that it's come out through the depositions that there was no internal investigation at all, even though they knew the day after this that without any doubt, they knew that he had broken his neck during the incident. There was no internal investigation of it. And from what I can tell, they didn't report it to the California Department of Justice. And they're required by their own policies to report these kinds of incidents that result in serious bodily injury to the DOJ. So in all respects, they didn't take this incident seriously, even though a man ended up paralyzed and then eventually dying because of it.
I think they were hoping that nobody would find out, especially any competent lawyers. And the mother was semi-homeless, so it's a miracle that she got in touch with a lawyer who got in touch with us. I think that's one of the reasons. I think they were trying to hope that nobody would know about this. And, you know, I think the fact that they didn't do a thorough investigation really makes them look bad.
Yeah.
Are they contesting that the use of force that occurred and the aftermath caused him to be paralyzed?
I don't think they're contesting that. You know, we haven't got into experts yet. I think they're going to say, yes, that did cause it. But, you know, I think they're going to file a summary judgment motion, try to get off qualified immunity and anything else they can do, take an interlocutory appeal if that doesn't work. So I think we're in for a battle on this, but I think we're going to come ahead. We have some good Ninth Circuit cases that talk about takedowns are very serious and could cause serious injury. And so I think given that he was handcuffed and on a hard surface, we also have our state claims, which we have no caps in California, and they're not subject to qualified immunity. So even if things went south on our federal claims, we also have passed a state statute recently, post George Floyd, for pre-death pain and suffering under state law. So because he's passed away, we're going to go for all of his pre-death pain and suffering. And we have some pretty good experts on that. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But if you want us to keep you in the loop on everything or send you documents, we're happy to do it.
As far as these officers, do you know if any of them had been involved in other egregious incidents or other prior incidents?
Yes. So one of the deputies involved in the takedown was Deputy Camara, and he was involved in a very serious use of force incident in 2018 of Alejandro Sanchez, who was also killed while in deputy custody, even though he was in a full wrap. So he was fully restrained, and he died of blunt force trauma to the head. The circumstances under which that happened were very mysterious, since there was no video in that case. But the case did settle for a large amount, and Deputy Camara was involved in the restraint of that individual at the time that he had the blunt force trauma to his head. Another deputy involved in that prior incident was also there at the scene, Deputy Babbitt, who we just deposed recently, was a witness in this case. In that case, nobody was punished either. There was no retraining of any of the deputies in that case. There was no consequences for any of their careers.
And that is the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department?
That's right.
You know, and quite frankly, it's incidents like this that I think destroys the public trust in law enforcement. I mean, imagine being at the park and seeing them throw some guy to the ground on his head who was already handcuffed. I mean, it's really horrible. We need police to help us, but we got to expect better than that. And I agree with you. Not only him hitting his head is horrible, and we've slowed it down and have still videos and photos of that, but the aftermath of that, the aftermath of treating a fellow human being like that, someone who's handcuffed and in your custody, is really troubling.
Okay, so even though this happened in 2022, everything was captured on body cam, multiple cameras. There's, what you said, thousands of pages of medical records. Is there any reason why even tomorrow or next week that the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department couldn't still do an internal investigation to see whether or not these officers they still employ should be disciplined or terminated? I mean, is there any reason why they couldn't still do that investigation?
No, absolutely not. I think the reason and to add to that, John, I don't think they have given this over to any prosecuting agency to look at to see if there's any criminal conduct. But I think at this point, they're afraid that any internal review is going to find that this was not within policy and concerned we're going to be able to use that somehow in the civil case. So it always gets back to they're more concerned with money and covering their backside than doing the right thing, than stepping up and saying this is unacceptable. And that's why I think it sends the wrong message to a lot of these police officers. And that's why we continue to have many of these incidents occurring over and over again. Because think about it from the law enforcement person's side. They're not losing their job. Their pay's not getting docked. They're not getting criminally prosecuted. It's not their money. As a matter of fact, we often see these people promoted after critical incidents like this.
So there you have it. A lot of times these things are blasted out there, they go viral as this one did, and then you never hear anything else about it. Well, that's not the case here. Now, that this being California, apparently they have a very slow docket process there. And it's the case, even though it's a year later, or 8 months after I even did my first video on it, they're still not even like halfway through the discovery process. So there hasn't been any rulings from the judge on any motions or anything like that. So this is one of those where hopefully we'll be able to do additional update videos as that process goes along through the motion stage and then possibly through a trial. But my huge takeaway here, as I said at the beginning of the video, is how insane is it that you have these undisputed facts. Anthony Silva was not suspected of having committed any serious crime. He was taken into custody violently. He was put in handcuffs, and then a use of force was inflicted on him that paralyzed him. A use of force was inflicted on him that caused his death in a very miserable way. It's undisputed that these police officers did that to him, that they killed this man. And yet there has been no investigation from the government, not from a prosecutor's office. They didn't put it before a grand jury. They didn't make a YouTube video about it. They didn't issue any sort of press release about it with report details. Nothing, no investigation. And according to the attorneys, when they took their sworn depositions, they had received no discipline whatsoever. They're all still with Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department. They're right there. They still have a badge and a gun, and they still have the ability to do who knows what else they're still doing to citizens there. And the government doesn't care. So I'll put the contact information for Stanislaus County in the first pinned comment below. If you live there, you might want to contact your politicians and be outraged about this. They have the ability to get rid of bad cops if they want to. They have the ability to prosecute bad cops if they want to. Doesn't matter if there's pending litigation. There was pending litigation in the George Floyd case the whole time. It's just a lack of will to do so. They just don't care. They're not going to care until you make them care. For further updates and coverage of this lawsuit, please subscribe both here and at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. Remember, freedom is scary. Deal with it.